Welcome to Annette on Life, Liberty, and Happiness. And today we are going to be talking about some cool Christmas gifts that you can get for people who want to start preparing or prepping and haven't really gotten started yet, but you want to help them get started in a simple way and a relatively inexpensive way, but extremely helpful way. And so for that, I brought on my good friend, Nate Ottosen. Hi, Nate.
Hey.
And Nate has got some ideas of ways to start a 72-hour kit, just as a reminder as well, for those of you who are new to the show. Well, it wouldn't be a reminder that would be new to you, wouldn't it? Anyway, Nate has a 72-hour kit that he has made, and he is promising to send it to one of my subscribers once I hit 800. And I'm like 5 away from that or something. So I'm getting really close. So if you would like to win the 72-hour kit, go ahead and subscribe or send this episode to your friends, have them subscribe. As soon as I hit 800, I'm just going to go randomly through my list and find someone. And Nate's going to send them the 72-hour kit. So anyway.
Yeah. Go back and watch that episode.
Yeah. Go find the episode on 72-hour kits. Now, this is going to be a not a complete 72-hour kit, but what we're calling a seed bag. So it's basically the start of a 72-hour kit. So if you give this to someone for Christmas, they will have the beginnings that they can then add what they want to it. So is that a good description, Nate?
I like it. What happened basically is I was talking to some people on the internet, and they said, how do we get started if we wanted to give somebody stuff for Christmas? And I was like, you mean plant a seed so it grows? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, seed kits. So that's where the idea for
used with like actual seeds. This is not like a bag of seeds. It's
right.
It's a beginning of a kit, which I think would be very helpful, because if people don't know where to start, but they get a few basics and put them in a backpack, then they can then start thinking about other things they want to add. Like for me, I would probably throw in some M&Ms or something.
You always need a little bit of chocolate.
Yeah,
I believe in that.
All right. So show us what you've got there, Nate.
So when I tell people, hey, you want to put your 72-hour kit together, or your bug out bag if you don't think about 72-hour kits, I always tell them the very first thing that you need is you've got to have a really good solid knife, something that's got a through tang. And I always like having a fire steel on my knife so that you can, if you've got this, you can make your shelter and your fire and you can get started. It's a good place to get started. But a knife like this is expensive, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, Nate, I think these are actually up to $250 now.
Holy cow.
Well, things are getting so expensive all the time. And everybody's like, oh, that's so much money. I don't want to do that. And I can understand that, and there are ways we can get around that. And one of the ways, or one of the things that we thought that would be a pretty good starter 72-hour kit is, here I've got a little Swiss Army knife. I love Swiss Army knives. They're great. Of course, you've got your blade and all that. But I always want, if I'm going to have a 72-hour kit, I always want one with a little wood saw, because you're really going to need that for making shelter, breaking down firewood into smaller pieces, and that sort of thing. So the first thing I'd consider in a seed kit is something like a good knife, and even something like this. And of course, you want something that you can start a fire with. And this one it's got a Ferro Rod here that you can.
What is that? For those that are just listening and don't see that, what is that called?
A Ferro Rod is it's a rod made out of metal compounds that when you put another piece of metal on them and move it fast, it'll strike really hot sparks that will start your fire. It's not like a flint and steel. If you're going to try to start a fire with a flint, you really have to have some experience. These are so hot that they'll run up wood shavings or other things like that. And like, for instance, this little block has magnesium on it. You can scrape coils of this magnesium off into a pile. So even if you're tinder and your kindling is a little damp, the magnesium will burn so hot that it'll light it up. And I prefer
a ferro rod and a fire still.
They're the same thing.
Oh, okay.
A ferro rod and a fire still are just synonyms.
Okay.
People just basically call them that. Now, like I said, this has got a ferro rod on it and a magnesium block. I really don't like these for hard use, but as a starter 72-hour kit, something like this is really handy. And I think I paid $5.50 for these at Academy, which is a sporting goods store here. I think they've got stuff like it at Galleons, or any sporting goods store is going to have a little something like this. So I've got it clipped onto my knife. And as you can see, I've also got something else here. I've got a little bivy bag. Now, this is like, it's a sleeping bag. You can see how tiny it is. It's because it's
Bivy as in B-I-V-V-Y, which I'd never heard of. I guess that's short for bivouac.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Here again, yeah, it's stuff you know, but you forget to tell people. Yeah, it's short for bivouacking. In other words, sleeping rough. And this is actually a little sleeping bag. It's got a zipper. This is made by Tack, but Saul has some. You can get different bivy bags on Amazon that are small like this.
And you can hold that in your hand. I mean, that's so small that actually is just like a bag that you sleep in. Literally, you just like climb into this bag. It's not like a what we think of as a sleeping bag. It's just a bag.
Right. It's if you lay it flat, it's 36 inches across and 6 feet long. So it's not tiny, but it's got a reflective. It reflects your body heat on the inside. It's supposed to reflect 80% of it. It's water resistant. You can't swim in it, but rain won't get through it. And so that's a pretty good little place to start. But I think these are $27 on Amazon, at least when I ordered this one. They may be.
A bivy bag is $27. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some cheaper ones and there's some more expensive ones. They have smaller ones and larger ones. I just got this one because it was pretty much right in the middle and it looked like it was pretty good. So I'll give it a try. I haven't used these personally, but I know people who've used the Sol Escape bivy, and the Sol Escape bivy works great for them. They've used it in sub-zero temperatures and they stayed warm.
Wow.
They dry. This is supposed to be made the same way. I expect it'll work about the same way. So, you know, you can pick something like this up. You know, these, I think these are $32 or $37. So that's what, $50, $60. And it's a pretty good sea kit. If I were stuck in the wilderness and this is all I had, I could still make myself relatively comfortable for 72 hours. I'd add something to it like, I should have talked about water filters. I'd get a Life Straw water filter or something like that, or at least some iodine pills. We've talked about water filters and Life Straws on this show before, but
are you saying live straw or life straw?
Life Straw.
L-I-F-E straw.
Yeah, and it goes in a cord around your neck. That way you won't lose it. You keep it inside your.
Yeah, that would be super handy. What do those generally run?
About $20.
Okay, I think I would add that. Yeah, I think I would add that just because you've got your shelter, you've got your fire, and you've got your water.
Yep.
So 72
you gotta
hours,
have those.
Be a rough
if you got a little bit of knowledge of your local plant life, there's always stuff you can eat. You know, fiddleheads. You can make a pretty good tea out of pine needles. If you know your mushrooms, but you got to really know your mushrooms.
Yeah,
I do not know my mushrooms. I wouldn't even try it. That's right.
72 hours to get the wrong mushrooms going there.
And you could really fast. So you could poison yourself or wind up on the trip you didn't expect to take.
That's what I'm thinking. That would be a wild 72 hours. You might not mind sleeping in a bag.
At that point, probably not. But I don't know because I've never tried that. I don't know my mushrooms. I don't do that.
All right.
But I'd also add a little pocket stove like this. This thing just kind of unfolds like this, and it'll sit right down like this.
So this is like a couple of pieces of metal attached to another piece of metal, and then they've got, what are those little things inside?
These are fuel tabs.
Fuel tabs.
And they'll light right up. You can burn them, and they'll one of these little tabs is supposed to be more than enough to boil a quart of water.
So you can use one of those do you leave them both in, or you just leave one in at a time?
I just put one in there at a time.
So you got two two fires or two, I don't know.
Yeah, I've got two. I've got enough for two of them. I always keep a couple of extra in my little bag, because worst comes to worst, you can start a pretty good fire with those. And like I said, they'll burn pretty hot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like them because they smell like rotten tuna fish.
Mm.
So if you open them, then you want to burn them because they stink. And
all right.
so,
But the way they are right there, what do you do to start that little fire right there?
well, you take it out of the little package,
Uh-huh.
and you hold your cigarette lighter up to it,
Okay.
and it'll light right up.
Okay.
Or you can break it up a little bit. I don't know. Yeah, see how there are little tabs there?
Uh-huh.
Break it up a little bit and strike your fire still onto it, and that'll run it. They'll light up. I mean, they're kind of waxy.
Mm.
They're really pretty easy to light. The story is that GIs used to use the English call it gelatinite for some reason. Plastic explosives.
Oh, uh-huh.
And the fumes were kind of toxic, so the U.S. government developed solid fuel tabs like this to keep them from using plastic explosives. And so, like, this little kit is actually a GI. I mean, it's a U.S. military surplus, and I bought it for $5. But the little surplus store I bought it from, just down the street from me, they had brand new ones that were like this, that were fancier and better. And I bought a couple of extra ones, and I gave the people as Christmas gifts a couple of years ago. They're a little bigger and a little sturdier, but these are fine.
Yeah. So that's a good addition. So now you've got your bag to sleep in, your flint, or what do you call it, ferro rod, or fire stick, start a fire. You've got your knife to cut things, cut some wood and things like that. And then you've got your little stove to heat water. So you might need if someone gets that in their little seed kit, then they can throw a pan or a pot or something in there.
Yeah, take an empty 2-liter bottle, tie some paracord around your shoulder, and you've got a canteen, so that you can carry your water with you. And you that's at least enough to get you through 72 hours in relatively decent comfort.
Awesome.
Comparatively decent comfort. If it's going to be 20 below, you're going to have a real struggle. But if that's the case, then you better leave the house with a lot of extra blankets.
And find yourself some mushrooms, because then you won't mind freezing to death.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. I don't want to freeze to death. No. I'm pretty sure of that. Yeah, I'm sure that's better than some ways of going, but no, I'm not that cool about it. But let's say that you don't want to do that, or that's a lot more money than you were planning on spending, and you still want to get started. Another option that you might really like trying is this little knife right here is a Mora, right? And I do. Let's see, Mora, and Mora it's actually Mora Niven, so it's Morkniv. But they're a little Swedish company. I don't know if you can see the label right there.
There, okay, now I can see it. Yep. Okay.
But they make
Amazon, or
do what?
Can you find that on Amazon?
I bought these on Amazon. I've got them like this for as low as $12. And I've seen them for as high as 19. But really, if I could only have one entry-level knife and I couldn't spend any money to speak of, I'd get one of these. You can still baton wood with these, although I don't recommend it, but you can get away with it. You can split your firewood with it.
All right. So this is instead of a Swiss Army knife if we're going down to a cheaper option.
Right. If you don't want to spend $37 on a Swiss Army knife, get a Mora like this. All right. And really, these are pretty good knives for what you're spending. They really are. I had a girlfriend who loved them because they come in a little plastic sheath, and she used to just hang that on the waistband of her yoga pants that she wore camping. And because these weigh nothing, you can carry it around without a belt, and she had it, and it was right there. If you saw our video about knives, this has a Scandinavian edge, a Scandi edge, and so they're really sharp. Even though this is a cheap knife, you can shave with this. They're really sharp. So be careful, don't cut yourself.
Yeah. Or you could stab someone, if you run into it, or a person, a mean person, animal, I think you can stab them.
You could. And that's one of the great advantages that it has over a Swiss Army knife, plus the handle's rubberized. So it's easy to hold. Because it's rubberized, it even in the cold, it's pleasant to use this knife because it's warm to the touch.
I would say if you're gonna try some mushrooms, you should give your knife to someone else so you don't end up.
I would highly recommend that too.
Yeah, you don't want to stab people because you're high and you think that they're a bear when they're really just a person.
Don't stab bears. Oh, poor bears.
Yeah, you're a bear guy.
So what I've done with this, because you probably saw this right away. I've put a little cigarette lighter in here.
Yep.
Right. So that you have something to make fire with. What I did is I just put some double-sided, or I put some tape inside out so that it would make it.
I like the idea of a lighter better than a fire still or whatever. I like the idea of just being able to light something up.
Now, a lighter really is nice, but there's some disadvantages to these. They will eventually run out of butane.
Oh, right.
A Ferro Rod just won't. You've got thousands of strikes, and it's always there. These don't work below 32 degrees.
Oh, yeah, that's not good.
Now, that is, and if they get wet, they won't work. Now, if your Ferro Rod's soaking wet, it'll still run sparks off. I don't know if it'll run sparks underwater. I've never tried it, but even if it's raining and it's all soaking wet, your Ferro Rod will still do this. And if these get wet, they don't light well. But if you have one of these and you're afraid that it is going to be cold, or it is cold, put it in your pocket.
Right. So
because then even if it's 32 degrees out, if it's in your pocket, it'll warm up.
Right.
Now, you probably also noticed that I have some straws here. This is sort of an example of another thing that I would want to do with that to get your kind of 72-hour kit together. What I've done is I've taken just some ordinary cotton balls, right? Just the cotton balls that you take your makeup off with or whatever.
Yeah, I know that you take your makeup off with that.
I don't. I use those little sponge. I don't. But
some Vaseline.
Yeah, I've just got Vaseline, and I've kind of smushed a bunch of Vaseline into them, right? Because you put a light to that or a Ferro Rod to that, and it'll just go right up like a wick. I mean, it'll just burn like crazy. And it really is surprising with the Vaseline how well and how long it burns. Even if your kindling's a little bit moist, it'll dry it out and then set it up. So a little bit of this with a little bit of that. Then what I did is I took those are like from bubble tea. The straws are bubble tea straws because they're big, right? And then I heated this up and sealed the end, right? See how I've kind of sealed that off, right? Then I took the cotton, right? And I kind of drew it out and rolled it, and then I pushed it into this tube, right? So what I'll do is I'll put 3 or 4 cotton balls into that tube, and then I'll put them in there like I've got the tubes, right? Yeah, I'll put them in there like
next to the knife and the lighters, and it's all wrapped up with what did you call that? Paracord?
Paracord, yeah. And so, yeah, and I'll seal this other end off, so even if it rains, your tinder in here is going to stay dry.
So you don't burn that straw, you just pull the stuff out of it.
Yeah, you take the straw out, you cut it open, and you pull your tinder out.
Cut it open, right? Yeah, because you can't.
Yeah, and then you've got it. It's dry. You can use it. It's sort of like so I have that little expensive knife, right? And I have that really cool, expensive Ferro Rod. And when you open it up here on the inside, they've got this emergency tinder. It's the same kind of idea. It's just instead of paying $45 for that, right? You just, where'd I put the little straw? you know, you just put it on your little thing and it costs you almost nothing. If you keep your bubble tea straw, it was free, except for the cost of the plastic.
I've got a bunch of straws around the house that I never used for anything, so I could see doing that.
Yep. So and you don't have to put them onto your knife sheath. You know, you can just put them in your pocket or put them in your bag. Mm-hmm. So I got something like that, and then, you know, let's say that you don't want to buy your expensive bivvy. You can get a thick, heavy trash bag, like a contractor grade trash bag. You know, and if you don't want to buy these, maybe your lawn guy or somebody like that is out there loading some of these up. Maybe you can trade him, you know, but get you a big, heavy trash bag that's a good. Now, if you got kids, just a side note, if you got kids, don't do this, because I don't want them climbing headfirst into your trash bags.
Oh, right, little kids, right.
Go ahead and
I got big kids; they won't climb it.
Yeah, your big kids are fine; they're not going to suffocate themselves. But if you have little kids, don't do this.
I don't want to do that, right?
The nice thing about trash bags like this, though, is if you add this to a little bit of duct tape, and you got a couple of these, you might be able to split them open and make a temporary tarp.
Right.
You can do all kinds of things with this. So suddenly, you've got a really great Seed 72-hour kit, and this thing costs you almost nothing.
Nice. I was thinking, you know, that could be a good gift for people who have grown kids, and they want to give one to each of their grown kids, or like the whole family, like several of those for the whole family. And yeah, I like that.
Just tie those together and bam, and you've at least got that to get you started.
Those contractor grade trash cans, or trash bags, can you get those at like Ace or something like that?
Yeah, you can get them at any big hardware store. You can get them off of Amazon. If you type in contractor grade trash bags on Amazon, they'll pop right up and you can buy them.
Nice. All right, those are 3 good options. What else?
Speaking of kids, if you have little kids, right? One of the things I would do for all of them is I would get the loudest coach's whistle that I can find. Mm-hmm. Put it on a lanyard around their neck along with the fire steel. Teach them how to use this, because if they get separated from you for any reason, immediately they can start blowing on that whistle, or if it's a little longer, they can set up some kind of a signal fire. Teach them if you put green wood on it, it'll smoke more. And you'd be surprised how resourceful little kids can be if you give them just a few tools. Goes right around their neck. That way it's always there. Even if they fall down, it's around their neck. They haven't lost it. This is really important if you're going to be bugging out, or even if you're in a big group with a lot of your kids, because there's nothing you want to do less than lose track of them. And this way you can find them, because
I really like that.
You were prepared enough to just add that to your 72-hour kit. Always do this if you've got little ones.
Yeah, I think that's my next buy. I'm going to go find me some of those.
Yeah, you can get some of those Bobby police whistles, whatever you can find. Mm-hmm. Also, with that little kind of bargaining kit, I almost forgot to show you guys this. So we talked about these fuel tabs. What I've got here, this is just a little Altoids tin left over from Altoids. I took all the paint off of it so it wouldn't blister burn. But then what I did is I went and I got, this stuff is called hardware cloth, and it's just like a heavy screening material, but it's flexible.
Hardware cloth.
Okay. Yeah, how I'm bending it like this, right? So you can bend it in a little bit of a square, right? And this goes right inside. You know, if I weren't trying to do this on video where everyone could see me, it would have been easier. Okay, there we go. It goes right inside there. You put the little fuel tab in there.
Bingo, presto, you have a camp stove.
You have a little camp stove. That costs you almost nothing. The cost of the fuel tabs, a little bit of hardware cloth, and the extra Altoids tin you had. Just keep that with your other outfit, and then you can boil water with that. Awesome. Easy. If that's still not something you want, another thing that you might do is if you've got a Letterman multi-tool laying around the house, you know, just one of these little.
Oh,
Most of them have a pocket knife blade. Make sure it's sharp. Some of them even have a saw. Take that and find a ferro rod. This is a nice big one that I got off of Amazon, but even if it's a little one, attach it to it. One of the reasons why I did kind of like these, I can't even say this name brand.
Yeah, I can't see those letters, so I can't tell what they say. What does it say?
Anyway,
Triple?
Maybe? I don't know. Do what? It's BAYITE. I don't know, but I just bought this. I think I got 3 of them for $12. Nice. But I liked them because they were really big, so I could get a long stroke on them. And I just put some paracord on the end of it, and then I put it through the back of the little deal that holds it, and then I can put that in a baggie. And at least I've got the stuff that I need to start a fire. If that's all you can do, at least you're doing that. I mean, that's progress. That's put you in the right direction. Add a little bit of cotton tinder to that, or go over to your dryer and take the lint out and put it in that bag, because dryer lint works just as good as cotton balls. It'll light right up. You drop those sparks into it, it'll go.
Yeah, I really like the idea, but then you also said, what if you forgot the dryer lint, but you're out there with some teenagers?
Yeah, if you're out there and you don't have any dryer lint, you don't have any dry tinder, and you've got a couple of teenage boys, ask them for their belly button lint. I know that sounds ridiculous, but almost all teenage boys are going to have belly button lint. It's going to be dry. It's going to be oily. It's going to light right up. It's going to work. So you've always got that. Think about what you're doing, and you can get a lot further.
That's awesome. I haven't heard anything that good in a long time.
If you don't even want to do that, but you have, let's say you've got an old buck 311 knife that's in a case. I know you're still laughing about the belly button lint. You know, you got a little fulling knife in a case. Take your little fulling knife in a case and add some kind of fire starter to it, and at least you've got that. So that's a good place to start. Seed your 72-hour kit that way. You know, it's gotten started. So
awesome. All right, and then you wanted to show us, you have a few food items that you think would be great if people wanted to add. I think these are ideas for people who already got the seed kit and they want to add to
yeah, if you've got your seed kit or you're thinking about what to do about food, because we all do. I mean, you know, none of us want to starve, and I'm not really good at gleaning food in nature. I mean, there's a lot out of there, but I don't really want to survive on fiddleheads and bark for the next 72 hours. I'm going to try to find some food. Now, one of the things that I've noticed from, you know, just personal experiences here with hurricanes, other natural disasters like that, is particularly on the first day, you're really busy or you're really stressed and tired. You don't want to have to work too hard to get your food. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's one of the days where you actually want to spend a little bit of money. One of the things that I always try to do is I try to keep at least 3 Mountain House meals. Oh, I got them all.
Adventure meals. Are they kind of like an upscale MRE, or no? You have to cook these, right? So they're not.
Yeah, they're not really like an MRE so much. Like here's your biscuits and gravy, which is actually good. And let's see, what have I got here? Chicken and dumplings, which I think is the best one, really. And then this is chicken fried rice. This is okay. But other people like some different types. Like they've got one called a breakfast skillet. I've been told that's the best one. I tried it one time when I was camping, and I was starving and I couldn't finish it because I was like, well, it's just garlic and onions, and I cannot do that for breakfast. Oh. But what you do with these is you just add about 1.5 cups of boiling water to this and let it sit for about 9 minutes and then stir it up.
You stick it in that envelope?
Yeah, you just tear the envelope open right here where the little slot is, and then there's like a seal underneath it. And so you just put the water in there. You got to take they'll have like a discandescent envelope.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
You got to take that out, but add the water, stir it up, and let it sit. And I've used a lot of these camping, and I've never fed one of these to anybody who said, "Oh, that's terrible." And I've had, I've had scouts take MREs and go, oh, that's terrible. And then, of course, I've had scouts take MREs and go, oh, those are fantastic. But these are, the thing that's nice about these is they're freeze dried, so they weigh absolutely nothing. All they add is a little bulk to your pack, but they don't add any weight. And they add a lot of convenience, particularly, let's say that you had to leave the house early in the morning. You get where you're going and it's really late and everybody's starving and grouchy. This is where you want something fast like this. They're pretty high in sodium, so you don't want to live on these, but that's
I don't think you'd be worried about sodium too much if you're having to bug out.
No, and that part of the reason why that, because I think they've got a 9-year shelf life. Wow. The disadvantage with these, this is good till June 51. The disadvantage with these is they're
2051.
Yeah, it's good till June 2051. Yeah. Awesome. The disadvantage with these is they're expensive. They're $7 to $9 right now. With inflation, they're probably going to be $12 in the next 6 months. I don't know, but it's worth the trouble. This is supposed to be 2 meals, but in my personal experience, if you give this to a 12-year-old, he'll eat it in 30 seconds, and he'll tell you he's still hungry. So when it says it's 2 meals, it's 2 meals under ideal conditions, and you're not hungry, and you're like a 5-year-old girl. If you're
That's
a 12-year-old,
when the M&Ms come in handy too.
Exactly. That's when the M&Ms come in handy. Throw some carrots at them too.
Right.
But the next day, I like stuff like this. This is really nice.
Sweet cornbread mix.
This is sweet cornbread mix. Now, there are, I don't know, like this is the brand I can get here at my HEB. But you can get different mixes like this at different grocery stores. I don't know, maybe they're even made by the same people. But what you want to do is you want to get a mix like this that says just add water. You can get pancake mixes like this. Some of them even come in a little plastic shakeable bottle, and it says add 1.5 cups of water and shake it up and pour your pancakes out. Those are fantastic because they work. They're a little expensive, but if you're in a hurry or you need something now, they're great. I can mix this up with just a little more water and pour it into my skillet and make Johnny cakes, just like people have been eating at campsites for the past 150 years. Your kids will love this stuff. Just get, add water mixes for your biscuits, your pancakes, and your cornbread. When you leave, don't forget to take a skillet with you. You just make it up right there in camp. And it's pretty easy. Like I said, you can just mix it up in the, tear the envelope open, that way you don't have to get another dish dirty because your soap will be limited. So get a mix like this. And I know you're like, okay, well, what about meat? I don't know what your grocery store has, but a lot of the grocery stores here have like foil packets of different kinds of meat.
Brisket. I've seen the tuna in those. I haven't seen the brisket before.
Yeah, and having some tuna like this is really nice. Only I'm allergic to fish, but you can have a lot of tuna like this with you, and you can open it and you can eat it with crackers or hardtack. We'll talk a little bit about hardtack later. But like this one, you just warm it up, or you don't have to warm it up. You can just eat it. But I'd warm it up. If you've got an MRE warmer laying around, you can use that to warm this up. As a matter of fact, that's what this really reminds me the most of. But it's nice and it's thin. It's a little heavy because it's hydrated meats, but it's still pretty easy to carry. You can carry 2 or 3 of these in a backpack. They're not adding any weight, and they're adding 3 days worth of protein. So
yeah, worth it.
I like those. Another thing that I think a lot of people ignore is the idea of getting something like this. You got some grits. It's a good carbohydrate. It's dry, and you can just
it's like
yeah. And it's real easy to make. You have a cup of water for 3 tablespoons of grits. You just boil it for 5 minutes, and then you've got a nice warm cereal that works well. And it weighs nothing, and it's cheap as all get out. Add some of that to your 72-hour kit, because I can't remember when I bought this, but it says good till January 23. I think I bought it about 6 months ago, maybe a year ago, maybe a little bit longer. I'm a single guy. I don't pay as much attention to that as I probably should.
I'm thinking these are things that are good to add to your supply, which hopefully everyone's been working on, because things are, like you're mentioning, prices are going up, shelves are starting to empty. And so, like I keep harping on people, if you have not started your supply, or if it's kind of lacking, this is the time to buy right now. Don't wait until next year.
I still remember when we were at conference one time and they said it's as important now to get your year's supply together as getting on the ark. Wow. And that was ages ago. And so,
well, that's the thing. I think because you get to a time right now, and we may just be weeks or months away from not being able to get a hold of a lot of things. So the time is now.
We're already starting to see a lot of shortages. You know how earlier I talked about I got a little folding saw for that 72-hour kit. I tried getting a Baco folding saw for it, and I ordered 2 of them, and I could only get 1, and it still took them 3 months to send it.
Wow, must have come
or something. Shortages. You know, the ammunition shortage is not as bad as it used to be, but the firearm shortage is still pretty severe. It's hard to get rifles, it's hard to get shotguns, and they're a lot more expensive.
Which reminds me, we're going to do a Guns 101 episode in the coming weeks. So stay tuned, people. Subscribe.
Now, all of that other stuff, you know, it still costs money. It's pre-made mixes. If you really want something that's good for it, but you want on a budget, I bought this little canvas bag. I know it's a garlic bag, but it's still a pretty canvas bag that I bought at my HEB. I saw it when I was walking down the aisle.
I'm sorry, what does HEB stand for?
It's my grocery store.
I have to do this every time, because when I went to visit Texas, my sister lives in Texas, and I'd never heard of HEB. So I went in and I bought, and I was completely innocent. This was not planned and naive, because I didn't know anything about it. And I was at the grocery store and I asked the cashier, what does HEB stand for? And she told me, and it's the name of a guy that started the company. It's Howard. It's either Howard or Harold. I always forget. Butt. So the guy's last name is Butt. And so anyway, it's just a running joke with my sister. But anyway, go on. What you buy at HEB?
Well, I love my HEB, just because I'm Texan. But I bought a little bag there, and inside of it right now, I've got some hardtack. This is just the ordinary everyday recipe that you can get for hardtack. And as you can hear, I
can hear it when you hold up the bag. It sounds like there's dominoes inside, and I was surprised to see that was hardtack. Sounds like
it's hard.
Which looks like sort of skinny biscuits, but they're really hard.
They are really hard. Now, I made these. I used the recipe in the book that we talked about. You can get all kinds of recipes for this, but basically it's 2 cups of flour, about 1 cup of water, more or less, and some salt. And then you roll it out to where it's about 1/4 inch thick. I like mine just a little bit thinner. It won't rise because there's no leavening. You roll it out, and I use a tiny little biscuit cutter for mine, a round one, but some people cut them square, like in 3-inch squares, like from the Civil War. And then you put a bunch of holes in them to keep them baking faster and even.
And then you put them in the oven?
And you put them in the oven at 350 degrees. Do one side for 30 minutes and then flip it over and do the other side for 30 minutes. You want them to bake till they're absolutely dry. I mean, you could hear them. They sound like dice. You want them to bake till they're absolutely dry, otherwise they'll mold.
And how much salt do you put in there?
About 3 tablespoons, 3 teaspoons, about 3 teaspoons.
Whew, that's a lot of salt. 3 teaspoons. So you said it was 2 cups of flour and 1 cup of water?
Yeah, 2 cups of flour, and about, you know, because you're going to go ahead and lay it out, and you're going to knead it a little bit. You basically want that dough to where it's a little bit springy, but it's dry enough that it won't crumble. I mean, but it's wet enough that it won't crumble. So right in there, in between those two, and then roll it out. I use a rolling pin, but you could use a bottle, or you could just push it out by hand. When I first made this stuff when I was in college, I just squished it out by hand because I didn't have a rolling pin. And my mom, she was like, well, you can just use a glass, you know. And I went, oh no, I never even thought of that. But yeah, you can, and then just bake it. But the key is you want to get it good and dry so that there's not. Now, you can't put any olive oil or Crisco or anything in there, or that'll go rancid. So you need it to be just flour, water, and salt. A lot of doughboys during the First World War complained because their hardtack, their army issue biscuit like this, was Civil War surplus.
So stuff from when World War I was from the Civil War. That's
a lot of the food they were getting was from the Civil War, and they complained about it. They didn't think that was cool, but it was perfectly fine and still edible. There's a guy who does YouTube videos where he'll get old army rations, he'll eat them, and he got some Civil War era hardtack, and he ate some of it. It was still edible.
That's amazing. So you can either eat it hard like that, or you can soften it up in some liquid of some kind. Or if you're hiking, you can just put it in your mouth and let it sit for a while and until it softens up, and then chew it.
Yeah, I won't chew any of this in front of you because I'll break my teeth.
Right. Yeah, I'm worried at at my age, I don't know if I'd risk it, but I might let it just soften up in my mouth for a while. And
yeah, if I were to take this with me to the woods, I'd get a jar of bouillon like you can get at the store, like some chicken or beef bouillon. I'd make that up. I'd get that boil and I'd crumble a couple of these biscuits and I'd put it in there and just kind of make myself a soup. During the Civil War, they used to get bags like this, and they would put it on the ground and they'd crunch it up with their musket butts, and then they would pour it in their coffee. Or they used to get salt pork rations, and they would fry that salt pork and it would leave grease, and they'd crush this stuff up and fry it in the grease that they had left, and that grease would soften it up. A lot of settlers, if they'd found wild honey, they would crunch this stuff up and they'd put it in the wild honey, and it'd soften it up the same way. You can hear, you can read about them doing that.
Well, I think it would be fun for people to give that as gifts as part of the seed kit, because who can say they've had hardtack? I mean, I've never even tried it, but I think it'd be fun just to have some, just to say I've got hardtack, but then you can grab it with your 72-hour kit. Worst comes to worst, you've got something to stick in your mouth to eat if you're starving, right? I mean,
and it'll keep you from starving.
Yeah.
The last time I actually made this was about 4 years ago, and I had some sitting out on the counter, and I was at work, and my girlfriend came by the house and she sent me a text and she says, "Those are the worst biscuits you've ever made. I couldn't even eat them." And I wrote her back and I said, "They're not biscuits, they're hardtack." And she says, "Well, whatever hardtack is, it's awful. I don't want to ever eat it." And I said, "No, you don't understand. It's for
survival.
It's for long-term survival." I think because I put that in a cloth bag for her, and I think she actually still has all that hardtack.
That's funny. Well, that's awesome.
Nobody really wants to eat it.
Well, Nate, we are about out of time now, because I've been trying to keep my podcast down to around 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of swell ideas that you shared with us today. And, I may have you write up some of it so I can add it to the podcast. But yeah. I appreciate your knowledge. And I'm going to have you back in a week or two, and we're going to do a Guns 101.
Guns 101?
Yeah. And we're going to talk about what people like me need to know, who are pure novices that have no clue, and need to know what we should get.
We'll talk about where to start. If they've got questions that they want answers to,
email me ahead of time, Annette at AnnetteTalks.com, or find me on Facebook. I'll post about it on Facebook. Just go find me, Annette Bybee. Either way. And that's a good, I'm glad you reminded me. I'll post that on Facebook.
So if you tell her what your questions are that you want answers to. I'll try to get you those answers. If you haven't seen me before and you don't know who I am, I've been a professional gunsmith since about 1992. I'm Briley Manufacturing's head gunsmith, for whatever that's worth. But I know a thing or two about them, and how to get yourself started under circumstances like this that are less than ideal. So let her know if you've got some questions, and I'll do what I can to answer those. But if you just want a good introduction, we're going to try to get started with, what are guns? What's the difference between little ones and big ones, and why is that important? And if we've got time, we'll even talk about where to start. If you're like, well, I need a gun, but I don't even know what to get. We'll talk a little bit about that.
Great. No, that's great. I need that information as well. That's half the reason I do this podcast, just get free information for myself.
Hey.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Nate. And again, if you haven't been watching or listening, I'm going to be handing out a free 72-hour kit that Nate had put together, and he's going to mail once I have 800 subscribers. And we have another announcement later for when I hit 1,000. So let's get up to 800. Subscribe, share this with your friends. Subscribe on YouTube. That's where I'm going, because I don't see who subscribes on iHeart Radio and all that. So go to YouTube, Annette Talks, and subscribe there. So thank you all for listening. Again, thanks for coming on, Nate. And
glad to.
Good.
Always glad to be here. You're a lot of fun to hang around with and talk to.
Thank you. All right. Thanks for listening to Annette on Life, Liberty, and Happiness, where freedom lovers gather.